This is a trade I was talking about in the Telegram. You can see I'm waiting for this to pull back and start reclaiming levels. So I put in contracts there. Now I want to see this get over O at ONL. Otherwise, I would, if we started to extend farther, I would close out of this. Right here, I should have added contracts, but on this day, the tempo was so strong. It's kind of an error on my part. I should have added regardless of how strong it was. But you can see on the 4H chart, we talked about in the pre-market that 800 would be the first magnet if we were going to kind of create a range on that, between the weekly value areas on the 4H chart there. So right in here, I want to take my first contract, kind of that low volume node. I'm basically aiming to the swing high there at the top. But I wanted to get that first contract off. If I had, at least 4 contracts, I probably would have taken 2 there, and then I would, have 1 to go once we get over top of it. Those red lines are previous highs and lows. So I would look for the next number basically once we got up there and got moving, like either round numbers or those old highs. But in each one of these trades, the mechanics would be the same. I would enter the way I did. Normally, I would have added when we reclaimed the overnight high in that 775 level, and I would take one right in here. I think that's a good spot at that low volume node, depending on the tempo and how it's moving. This is about 5 times the regular speed, so it looks kind of obvious here. On the day of, I talked about in the Telegram how the tempo had changed at this point. All the other pushes, if you look at that 650, it was really strong out of there. So the tempo had changed a little bit, and it was still a little, pretty bouncy, and it just wasn't pushing as hard as I thought. Yeah, again, I think it was kind of an error on my part not adding. I should do the same thing each time. Overall, I was in the pre-market, I was talking about 800 would be the overall target. So I would want to front run that if we got to that level. I am watching these, they're old highs and lows. I can't remember which is which just at this point, but they're just old levels. So I just wanted to, you can see we came right up to that first one and then had this liquidation down to the the ONH. So I know that they see them, but I really think on the higher time frame that 800 is the magnet. But I do want to front run that 800 just because at those levels, it's such a large number, a large level, large recognized level that, there'll be a lot of people front running that. And I don't want to get caught up in the almost getting there and then, fading back or giving back the whole trade. So just kind of letting this do its thing. You can see on that 5-minute chart, it's working. And if you look at that 5-minute, you can see how we, each level, we kind of got to, did the same thing, then kind of come back, retested that 750. Like I said, that 750 really, there was a lot of power coming out of that. It's hard to tell. Like I said, this is 5 times normal speed. But there's definitely a change in tempo. So I'm taking this trade with that overall concept of at least 800. And if you look, that's a 4/8 chart just to the right. If you look at that, you can kind of, if you zoom out a little bit, you can visualize how this could turn into a range. And the 800 just being a larger, not necessarily a larger number, but an obvious magnet for people. If you look at that 5-minute chart, you can see the obvious structure that's building towards that. So I'm using that overall concept to take this trade, with the 800 being the final goal. And you can also see that the delta isn't backing up this move, but it doesn't mean it's not going to work. I would like to see a surge in delta that we were going to push farther, kind of backing up the move. But like I said, it doesn't mean it's not going to work. There we got a nice little push. You can see how we plowed right through those previous levels. I'm thinking 95. I thought there might be a kind of a flush to the upside here to hit that 800. But otherwise, if we just keep creeping like this, I'm trying to get to 95. Right there, I closed it.